Great. In our previous class, we were discussing about the pre-requirement for anybody to learn SAP FICO as the first thing. Anybody wanted to learn FICO first, they need to aware about whether they come from particular academic background or not, or whether they already have any working experience into FNA processes, or whether they already have any knowledge about any other ERP system. That will at least give them a booster to start with. That is something very much required. Beyond that, people can think about it if they don't meet that criteria. So at least now they should be able to put some extra effort to understand what exactly SAP FICO all about, how to become a confident person in FICO, right? So with that, that is what the major thing we spoke about it. And we spoke again, what is SAP, what is FICO. Also, we spoke about it. So whenever we talk about FI, particularly the organization, whoever wanted to implement the external financial reporting requirements, whoever wanted to prepare external financial reportings, we need a module called FI, which is a finance module to prepare all your external reportings. Now, whoever wanted to do a more internal analysis, internal reporting analysis, then you need to have a controlling module to be implemented. While we are learning also, we'll focus particularly something like this. What is the requirement that you are going to learn first thing? First, we'll focus on FI module to give you more confidence how to manage it. Then later we'll move on to CO as well. But if you wanted to become expert in both the things, seriously, it takes a long time. But I would recommend you to focus on one thing first. Then you can go deeper about other modules as well. So as and when you become confident with one particular module. Okay, that's how we will start with. In this journey, we'll begin with our FI first. Then we will be able to touch base on CO as well, a little bit of it. Then you will get that confidence by end of our course to attend FI interviews as well. Okay. Now, in today's class, let us learn a bit about whenever we talk about FICO modules. So we are going to discuss in deep anyway in upcoming classes, but for now to start with, so let us understand the first thing is like, what are the types of projects that you will see in any organization? I'm going to mute everybody. Please go on mute as soon as you join, which will help. Uh,
Sir,
yes,
I have one question. Can I ask?
sure, sure.
Sir, yesterday when we had, some examples, if you go little up,
Mhm.
we said this is, the 25 lakhs and then 21,000, and we
Mhm.
said like it's a good job, right? And
Mhm.
so, what was my thought process here? Because they invested less and
Okay.
they got this, the profit like 4 lakh rupees.
Correct.
Okay, so that is the only one scenario which I can identify here. Is there anything else which you think?
At this moment, if I look into this particular example that I had given, just to give you an idea how a management will start looking into it, right?
Mhm.
So yes, that's only one thing I just wanted to give you thought to look into that. Let's say in this particular example, I'm not breaking down about all other costs. I'm just looking at a high level, how much I
Uh-huh.
invested versus how much profit I got it. But later I would be more interested to see what
Mhm.
are the expenses that I had spent, and each and everything I'll break it down and see are there any opportunities that I could save some more in any one particular area. Let's say I had spent a lot of electricity charges last time.
Mhm.
Now my team will do a brainstorming. When I say my team, internal management accounting team, management accountants will do a brainstorming and understand what exactly the costs we had spent. Are there any opportunity that we can avoid certain cost? Are there any
Mhm.
cost that I can save it? If it is electricity, they will look into it particularly. Let's say why we had a lot of electricity that we consumed last time? Are there any penalties that we paid, or there was a more production that has happened and we were not able to sell all the produced products we might have stored in our store warehouses? Now, that doesn't mean that you are in really losses. That is a justifiable number still. The next period, you may not have electricity charges at all. That might become zero. Next period, the profit might be more. So that comparison will happen later and understand and see overall, is there an opportunity to reduce somewhere? Or they will also compare with the department wise or product wise, which product is really giving good profits, which product we are making losses, so that I can decide and make a decision whether to continue or not the same product, or should I continue to have this segment or not, right? If I'm making continuously losses in a particular product, what is the point that I continue to produce it, right? So that is what management will look into it. For them, they need a right set of actual data, not some what do you say, manipulated data, right? Manipulated data will not give a right input for them to take a right decision. For that reason, what we need to make sure, they need the right data whenever they need that right data. So as a consultant, we are going to help them to track all these costs. Now, management accountants will run in various reports and see how much we are spending in which areas. That will give them some idea. So that is just one simple example or a thought that we are talking here. Whenever we talk about product costing particularly, we will talk deep about it. What is
Okay,
your
got
variable
it.
cost? What is your fixed cost? What is a mixed cost? How does your total cost will shoot up when there is something changes, right? Should I manufacture myself or should I outsource this? All these decisions for a business to take, they need a right set of data. And also every year we hear about government also release budget. Every time they say that this is the budget for this year. Certainly in a back end, at the end of the year, we need to compare that budget with actuals. I might have allocated 1,000 crores for, let's say, infrastructure development this year. And end of the year, I need to understand, did I spend 1,000 crores or beyond that or less than that? Reasons might be different why you spent X amount, and we will compare and write proper commentary where we have spent, what is the value that we are creating by spending this money. All that management accountants will do the analysis later. For them to do this variance analysis, what is budgeted amount versus actual happened, they need some data. How do they get this data? How are we going to allocate all these numbers? There might be some cost centers. We'll talk about all this concept about cost center, profit center in detail in upcoming classes. Just to give you an idea now, so management accountants will perform a lot of other internal reportings and will understand the patterns of the cost that has been spent for the period and take a decision for the next period. Should I allocate more budget? Should I allocate less budget than what I did? That will have again various parameters how you will decide that. Depending on business goals, you need to decide, should I increase my budget or decrease my budget? Right.
Got your point. Yeah.
Okay. Hope that gives you some idea what you are looking for.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. All right. Now, whenever we talk about SAP projects, let us understand particularly what kind of projects you can expect. We'll go deep from here on to understand what are the types of projects. Whenever I complete this course, what kind of project that I can look for so that I can manage it easily initially. So that later I can go deep about when I gain a deep knowledge so that I can slowly move into other roles as well. For you to understand, let us understand the first thing, types of projects in SAP FIC particularly. Okay. So it's a common thing as well, wherever you see in any other module as well. It is applicable for FICO and also for other modules as well. So now, whenever I say this for FICO, along with FICO, there will be other module consultants also will be working along with us similar to this. The first thing that we always talk about is, so your implementation project. Whenever we talk about implementation project, so this has again a multiple uh, sub projects under this. It can be a greenfield implementation or a brownfield implementation or a bluefield implementation. All that we'll talk later. At a high level for you to understand, let's say we call it as implementation. So mostly we call this as end-to-end implementation. So just allow me a sec. I'll avoid this noise. So end-to-end implementation is the one project that we always look into it whenever we start a new implementation for any business. Whenever we implement SAP for any business, we call that as a implementation project. Either you can call it as an end-to-end implementation or a greenfield implementation. What exactly we do here? So whenever any business is starting their journey into SAP, so they need to go through a long journey until they go live for all their subsidiaries or all the product lines or the segments, whatever they do, whatever they call it, right? So here, what happens whenever we talk about implementation? So business first will look into their requirement. What is my actual requirement? As per that, so those who joining with a different devices, can you please rename with your original name so that it will be easy for me to identify who you are. No need to be hide your names. I think it will be good to see your names here on the session.
But I'm not able to edit my name.
Oh, is it? Okay. Can I know your name, please, so that I'll help you?
Yeah, Kanna.
Kanna?
Yes.
I did that. Okay, perfect. So next time you will be able to find while joining, you can change the name or you right click on your name in the chart, sorry, in a participant list, we will be able to change it. Okay, so that it will help everybody to know who you are. But
Yeah, sure.
perfect. The implementation, whenever we talk about end-to-end implementation, is what we always talk about, which is one of the core projects. Whenever you join in any SAP FICO projects, what happens in implementation project? We need to implement from the scratch. They don't have, let's say, any ERP so far, or they might be using third party or a different ERP system so far. In that case, it can be any reason, but still they are now implementing SAP FICO or all other modules as well, right? Along with FICO, organizations will implement parallelly other modules as well. It's not just about only FICO. They will also implement multiple modules. Depending on their business requirement, they will start with one module first, then maybe later they will add other modules as well. Certainly for us to start with implementation project, we need to make sure there is already system has been set up. As a FICO consultant, straight away you can't start your journey. There is someone called technical consultants. Those are your basis team will comes into picture here. They will take care of all the previous steps or the pre-requirements to start for any configuration or any implementation first. As a first step, your basis team will set up entire system. We'll talk about a system landscape later in upcoming classes. And as a part of system landscape, they will understand what is your business requirement. As per business requirement, they will divide the system such a way that all the users can use system in right manner. They will take care of all that. They will give you access. They will create all the users. They will provide necessary authorizations to each and every user. Let's say you are a consultant. You need to perform certain activities. What activities you are going to perform, your manager will list it down and provide that list to basis consultant. Basis consultant will take care on that front and they will decide and create certain authorization objects and assign those to your profile. And similarly, your business users, or we call it as end users as well. Your business users no need to have the entire access to your SAP, including they will not have any access to the configuration first thing. And all they will have is access to perform business day-to-day activities. No configuration, no changes to the system. Strictly, they will not have. As basis team, or you call it as a GRC or a security team, this team will take care of this kind of requirement. First, what they will do, they create required objects for them as well. and they will assign to those users, to business users, they will assign only to perform various activities. They will restrict the access there with authorization objects. Now, again, in this, what happens in the business users, whoever is working in, let's say, accounts payable department, within accounts payable department, there will be again sub activities where one person cannot handle entire cycle of it. What do you mean by entire cycle? Let's say we spoke about one small example here in a previous class. We purchase some materials from our vendors, and you also need to make a payment to for those purchases that we have done. The person, whoever is responsible to enter the purchases into the system, should not have access to the payments. What do we call this term technically? Anybody come across this? The person is performing something. Same person should not have access to other things. That is called segregation of duties. In short, SOD. As a part of SOD, your business will provide various rules. This is my SOD chart or a SOD matrix. As per SOD matrices, please configure the user's profile. Now, basis team will take care of that. Now, this list will contain multiple users with multiple roles who's supposed to have which access. Let's say one person will have access only to enter the invoices. They will not have access to approve any invoices or making payments. They will not get access. Now, another user might get access to approve invoices only for approval. He don't even get access to enter any invoices. The person who has approval access should not have any access to edit or to make any new entries. In case he wanted to edit something, he has to send it back. That is going to be a workflow again later. We'll talk about that workflow requirement in a separate concept. For now, you talk about a person who is approving, they should not have access to edit or enter any new invoices. What happens when we give that access to edit or enter new invoices and the same person approves? What is the loss to the business generally?
It can be, financial loss, or maybe
Right.
someone can
People
misuse.
can do manipulations or can enter into malpractices where they can enter their own bank account details, or they can enter their friends or relative bank account details and enter one invoice. Because he has approval authority, he can also approve it, right? Does this happen in past? Yes, there is a lot of frauds happened and people also got caught later. It is not easy that people will escape, but it takes some time depending on how you are maintaining controls in your organization. For that, business will maintain internal controls and they will detect all these kind of frauds. That's the second story, which is a kind of a post-mortem investigation that you do it, but loss has already happened. Now you need to put additional effort to recover that or to avoid in the future, right? Now, in a first place, what if I have this? I can straight away avoid. I don't need to have additional effort. With that intent, whenever we are doing anything, you will also come across a lot of places, authorization related, access related stuff. We'll discuss about that as well in detail. So you will understand what do you mean by access, authorization, which access you supposed to have where. Now, whenever you as a consultant doing a configuration, you will have a limited access. As a consultant, you are also have a limited access to certain systems. Certain systems you will not have access. We'll talk about that, which systems you're supposed to have access, which systems you will not have access. Whenever we talk about implementation, as a part of implementation, you will have all other team members, including functional consultants, technical consultants also comes into picture here. So this excuse me, technical consultants plays initial role to set up entire system. So we'll talk about the life cycle of a project implementation later. We are not yet talking about in detail about implementation. Once we understand at a high level about types of projects today, in next class, we'll start with implementation project so that you will understand what exactly the implementation project means, how it looks like. As a consultant, what will be your roles and responsibilities from the day one? And what would be, if you are associate consultant, what would be responsibilities are expected? If you are a senior consultant, what responsibilities are expected from you? If you are lead consultant or a principal consultant, what your organization would expect from you. All this we'll discuss in detail whenever we start implementation project. At this moment, we are simply going with high level types of projects to understand, just to give you some idea what do you mean by various types of projects. That's it. So in any project, any organization, if you hear that company is implementing SAP, the starting point is they start with implementation project. Whenever we start implementation project, where basis and ABAP consultants also will start, particularly basis consultant will start configuring the entire system landscape that is required. Then the respective module consultants will start their work. First consultant is going to do the configuration is FI. Without FI configuration, none of the other module consultants, functional module consultants can do anything in the system. So why we are talking about FI as a first thing is, so whenever we talk about organization, a company, we call that as a company and a company code. In SAP world, we recognize every organization or a business unit with a name called company code. Whenever you wanted to recognize your business, you need to call that as a company. Then under your company, the company will become a parent company. Under parent company, you will have a lot of subsidiaries. You might have a branches in a country wise, or you have a lot of other services that you are providing. Let's say if you take it simple to understand, any one of the Indian brands like a Tata, for example, they have a lot of products under Tata. You might take Tata Steel, right? Tata Steel is a separate organization, though it is a Tata. TCS, which is a separate organization. And if you look into, they are into many other things, right? They are into many products that you can see from Tata. Every product can become a separate organization. Those organizations will be called as one company code, depending on how they wanted to organize order. In general, each product can also be, each line of business can be a separate company code. If they wanted to create, or if they wanted to create country wise, I don't have so many diversifications. I'm okay with combining all the revenue into one, as a country wise. Then they will go with, let's say, country wise company. India, they will say TCS India, one company. TCS US, second company. TCS Malaysia, third company. Something like that. Now, as a FI consultant, what we'll be doing, we will create a company code first. We'll create a company code and let other consultants know that company code is available now for further configurations or a further whatever you wanted to do it. Unless you confirm the company code, other consultants cannot start them. So that's the relevance or importance of FI consultant where we start with. Okay. So now once you create a company code, then you inform other consultants, they will proceed from there on with the other things. In a new implementation project, you start your journey here and you will also involve in various workshops, understanding various business requirements. Even before you configure a company code, you need to have a clarity. Total how many company codes I wanted to create. What is the total requirement? What is the reporting structure? What is the financial year that they are following? How many total users are going to log into the system? How many accounts payable clerks will be there? How many accounts receivable clerks are there? How many managers are there? How many approvers will be there? All this will understand in detail. Only after understanding all the information, we document each and everything. We'll talk about various documents, how to prepare the documentation as well as a part of journey, your consultant journey. There are a lot of things that you need to perform. Each and everything that you discuss with your business, you have to document it. You can't simply gather the information through Teams chart or a call and you complete the work and say it is done. Before you complete the work, you need to make sure you document it. Whatever you documented, get it reviewed by business one more time. Then you complete all the work that you wanted to do. Then you tell them it has been completed. Then your work is in a right manner that you are completing it. If you don't follow this documentation procedure and the review from the business before you do it, later you might struggle. Okay. That's a major thing that we do in an implementation. You will understand a business requirement. For that, you need to organize various workshops where you meet with the business users and then you understand various requirements. From there, you prepare your documentation that is required. Then we'll proceed from there on with all the configuration that we're supposed to do. That's the most important thing that we need to know whenever we talk about implementation project. As a part of implementation, you will be working either directly from the same company. Let's say you are working for a TCS. Now TCS is implementing SAP. TCS is implementing SAP for their own use, and you are working from TCS itself, and you are going to support this project. Now you will be called as in-house consultant. This name is common across any project that you provide. Now you are working as an in-house consultant because you are working for your own organization. Okay. And whenever you work for other organization, other business, let's say you joined a TCS organization. In TCS, they have a lot of clients or the businesses who use SAP. TCS has given a commitment that we will help you with all the SAP implementation and a setup for you, because those organizations are not expert in implementing SAP. TCS say that we have a lot of expertise in this area. We have already successfully delivered 100 plus clients business, and we can easily do for your clients as well. Now that business will provide or outsource that work to TCS now. Now, whenever some other organization outsource, let me take that example here, right? Let me take any one small example, like let's say Nestle. Okay, Nestle is a business. They are not expert in SAP implementation. Now they need somebody who can help with. What they will do, Nestle will purchase SAP license, or they can directly go for a bidding in the market and invite a biddings asking for, we are looking for partners who can implement our ERP system of SAP. They will quote all their requirements and they will invite biddings. Multiple companies will send their biddings with a cost estimation. From there, Nestle will finalize from the biddings whatever suits their requirement. Depending on their criteria, they will choose one. Maybe the budget they might look, or they might look expertise, or they might look for some other parameters. Depending on their criteria, they will finalize one organization who can implement this. Now, let's say they have finalized a TCS as their partner to implement it. This you call it as implementation partner now. Whenever you call implementation partner, this is the organization who is going to implement entire SAP implementation for your business. Let's say Nestle is a business now here, and TCS is going to implement for them. Now you call this as an implementation partner. Now, whenever you are working from a TCS for a Nestle, now you might also call this as a client. In your resumes or in your general conversations, people will also ask you, what is your client? Which client did you work for? Did you work as an in-house consultant, or did you work as from an implementation partner side, right? So these are the basic terms that I'm just giving you an idea to understand what exactly they mean. Now, whenever you talk about in-house consultant, you are working for your own organization. Whenever we talk about implementation partner, you are kind of outsourced consultant for other organization where you will be supporting for other business. Okay. Now you will be involved in this project depending on your overall experience. There will be other consultants also who will be supporting this business along with you. Depending on your role, you will take certain responsibilities. There will be a senior consultant, there will be an associate consultant, there will be a principal consultant and a project manager, PMOs. Everybody will involve in this phase. They will play their role. Everyone will play their own role, including your roles. You need to be very much clear what exactly your roles and responsibilities are going to be. That you need to decide, or you don't need to decide. I mean to say, you need to be very much clear that you will receive through your JD before you join this organization, or if you are already there in that organization, before project kickoff happens, your project manager will call for a meeting and will explain about the entire project structure, and will also tell you are going to handle this. you need to handle so on. So that is what they will explain. So we will talk in deep about this implementation project in upcoming classes. Wherever you see SAP implementation is happening, they are starting to use SAP for any organization. Either they can implement on their own if they have expertise, or they might give that as an outsourcing to an expert person, whoever is good at it. That project you call it as implementation project. Once you understand business requirement and configure everything, you give that final product to your clients or a business. That step you call it as a go live. Once you give the system or hand over the system to your clients, they will start using that in a production system. Before you go live, there are many other things which happens, including your quality assurance things happens. We'll talk about that later, but I'm not including all that. As a part of your implementation, there are many things that we do. At a high level, we're just trying to understand implementation project and who are the partners involved here. And later we'll talk about the phases in implementation, each phase what happens and how you are going to involve in each phase. Okay. Once implementation is completed, you hand over system to your business. That day you call it as a go live. From go live, you provide some more support, maybe another 1 month, 1.5 months, or max 2 months to your business, because you are the one who completed all the implementation. I want you to take care if there is any issues arise in initial days. That period is already negotiated in your bidding. In bidding, they will also mention after go live, we will provide you 45 days of support. That support is called hypercare. Hypercare support is something during this period, business will identify various challenges. Maybe during initial phase, the requirement was not clear, or consultant might misunderstood, or there was limited time that we were not able to deliver everything that they were expecting it. Now what happens? Now you are going to fulfill all those gaps or whatever the errors that business identify, all those defects they submitted to you, you need to fix it at a high priority. That you call it as a production support defects. So those production support defects you need to fix during your hypercare support period, including any other remaining configuration or implementation to be delivered, you will deliver during this hypercare support. Once you're done with the hypercare support, then what we will be doing is then business will decide to continue your support or not, depending on the budget and all other criteria that they have it. Most probably, once implementation is done, they might hand it over entire system to some other partner. Once they hand it over the same system to other partner, so far TCS is implemented. I may go ahead and give this to Cognizant later, or Genpact, or Accenture, or a Wipro. It can be any other organization, depending on my budget and my business requirement, right? So that is all with a business decision. They will hand over this to some other organization to help them for rest of the life. That you call it as a support project. Once your go live is done, your support project starts from here. So in support project, what happens? Your business will be using this system every day, right? Whenever they are using every day. So they will face some issues. Whenever they face some issues, and they will not be able to proceed whenever they find certain issues. Now they need some help, somebody to fix it. Now what we need to do is, as a consultant in a support project, you need to help them to fix those problems. They will raise defects, or they will raise a change request. We'll talk about what is defect, what is change request, which one is raised on which instance, how to understand them, how to deal with them. That is a part of our organizations. But for now, as a part of support project, on day-to-day business challenges, whatever your business users are going to face, they will ask for a help. As a support consultant, we are going to help them to fix all this. Okay? And also they might have a requirement to make additional implementation, or if there is a new requirement comes up today. We have implemented SAP in 2023. Now we are in 2025. we have a now new requirement. Earlier, we didn't thought about it, or we didn't had a time to implement during that time. Now we need that at any cost. Now what they will do? Now they will submit a request based enhancements or the new implementation. Now business need that as a consultant, you are going to support as a part of your support projects. In your support project, generally we will be dealing with a defect clearing. You clear all the defects and also provide a day-to-day support. Your business users might need some training how to use certain things, or they wanted to have a small help on a regular basis. All this generally you need to provide as a support consultant. Whenever they have any doubt, any error they get it, they will be running various batch jobs every day. Whenever they run a batch job or programs they are running on a day-to-day basis, there will be a mass programs they will be running it on daily basis. As a consultant, you need to monitor all those batch jobs, whether all the jobs are running properly or not. As a part of support project, you are going to monitor all these things. Whenever they stuck with something or whenever there some jobs get failed, as a consultant, we need to make sure we fix them and make sure business will not disrupt. To make sure the business runs smoothly, they need support, continuous support in this project. We call this as a support project. After go live, you are going to support the business until they use this ERP system. Support project will last for very long periods. Your implementation will last somewhere like 3 to 5 years or 7 years. Or some implementation can go up to 10 years as well, if it is a big organization. If you consider, let's say TCS wanted to implement, from the time they decide until they say that we are done with all the go live and we are moving to support projects or we are moving to support phase, then it can take minimum 10 years. Now think about it. What is the effort that goes in for one organization to implement SAP? Implementation itself is taking close to 10 years for a big organization. None of the organization can finish all the implementation in less than 2 years or 3 years. It can go any organization more than 5 years, I would say, because of the complexity involved, because of the data that they are handling already. They wanted to make sure everything is smooth. Just because we are implementing SAP, we can't lose any customer. We can't have any bad relation with the vendors. We can't have any other negative impacts in a business just because of ERP system that we are replacing. That always should give you added advantage, but still there is additional cost as well for them. Until you complete this implementation, you need to manage to have the old system as well, whatever the current system that you are already using. That old system is called legacy system. Whenever I say legacy, always remember this. Legacy is your old system or the present system that they are currently using it. Before implementing SAP, whatever it may be, the system that they are using is called your legacy system. So they need to have a legacy system parallelly up and running until you confirm that we don't need legacy system. When do you sunset the legacy system? Actually, only when you are comfortable with the new system that you implemented. Let's say SAP that we are implementing, our business users has to confirm we are good. We will test at least for a 1 year life cycle. 1 year you need to run parallelly both the systems, and you run report from your legacy system and see, and you will also run the same report in SAP and compare both. Both should match, should not have any differences in the final numbers. Whenever you prepare a profit and loss account from your legacy system versus your SAP system, both should give you exactly the same result. They should not have any difference for any reason. If there is a difference in those systems, that is not at all a right for them to do. That is where they clearly compare and see, and they will ask a support consultant also or implementation consultant during the phases to fix it whenever they identify. So until then, they need to maintain two systems, which is additional cost for them. They will also try to reduce this cost as early as possible, but still they won't rush it. They're still okay to spend that money, which is a huge cost. There is already legacy system. The users also has to enter transactions in both the systems, legacy system and the new system, which is an additional work. So, but still they will afford for it. So, which is a long journey. Once you're done with that implementation, your support is going to start after that. So, this support is going to for the rest of the life. Company, whoever is thinking to implement an ERP system, now you can think about it. Is it going to replace very soon for any organization? Not at all. Once they decide to use one ERP system, most probably they will stick for the rest of the life, unless there is serious concerns for them. Most probably none of the companies will change it so easily because we are spending already huge amount on ERP system in ship. Once you spend that huge money and the huge effort of like 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, again, if you want to implement another ERP system, similar thing can happen. Similar time frame you need to spend. More or less the same budget you need to have it. Anybody who's implementing, it's not like a few lakhs. It costs a few crores of rupees for them to implement in shell. If you wanted to discard this system and implement another system, which is going to be an additional work, which is not so easy, and people or organizations don't want to spend so much money again and again unnecessarily, right? So that's keeping that in mind. Now, once any organization implement, initially you get that opportunity to work in implementation projects. Later, you might get opportunity to join support projects. Whenever you hear, we are looking for a support consultants, we are looking for a person with end-to-end implementation experience. What they mean, they are looking for a person who already involved in end-to-end implementation. The person knows about various processes, initially what we deal with. That is what they are looking for. Once you're done with your implementation, you have already handed over this to support partners who will be handling the system. Now, from here on, there will be various other things will happen parallel. So implementation and support may not happen parallelly at a time for the same company code, but in the same organization, it can happen. But whenever there is a other company code rollouts are happening, but generally, once you're done with all the company codes, implementation is first phase, then it will move to the support. During the support phase, the other things that we are going to discuss now can also happen parallelly. Now, other one is called a rollout project. Whenever we talk about rollout projects, what happens? Now, let's say any organization who wanted to implement SAP, they don't implement their SAP system for all the countries at a time. First, they will pick one of the countries or one of the business lines or one of the product line. Depending on their organization structure, they will pick only one small business unit or one reporting structure. Maybe they will pick one country or one product line or any one of them. Let's in simple to tell you one company code. They will implement only one company code, end-to-end implementation. They will thoroughly test it and then they will use in a production. Once they start using in a production, they will use at least for a 3 to 6 months of data. They will compare that with a legacy system, just like what we discussed now. And with the legacy system, they will compare. Now, once they compare, they feel that all 6 months are 100% accurate data it is giving it. Only then they will give a go ahead for other company codes to implement. Now, once I implemented for one company code, I already have certain experience as an implementation partner. So I know how to implement for that business. I already understood their requirement. In a second round, they will tell you the requirement for a second company code as well. But here they might probably try to summarize and tell you certain areas which is exactly the same as other company code that we have done. They will tell you that whatever you implemented for a first company code, let's say area 1, 2, 3 is going to be the same. I have a similar requirement what we have done there. Then you already implemented that second time whenever you wanted to do the same job, which is going to be easy. Now you will be able to do faster way. You already have that structure and you just copy that structure and make a small changes that is required. Whenever we do that, we call that as rollouts. Now I already have one company code. Let's say for an India company code, I have already implemented. While I'm implementing India company code, I also understood business is going to use SAP system in multiple countries. Maybe apart from India, they also have in US. They also have in Malaysia. They also have in Japan. They also have in China. They also have in Thailand, whatever you call it, right? So they also have in Russia, and there are multiple countries they have it. Now, whenever they have this requirement, they already implemented for one company code. What they will do, they will create a template from this, from India company code. They will also copy this India company code details and create as a template. They will make it as a template or a model. Either you call it as a template or a model company code. So from this template, we simply copy whatever are the common settings or the common functionalities that I wanted to use it. Business will say that whatever you implemented in India for a vendors related, complete accounts payable related, we are going to use exactly the same process. Our process will not change for all these countries in accounts payable. We are going to have vendors, we are going to have a payment terms, the similar contract that we have negotiated in all other countries as well. Right? Now, accounts receivable also more or less same process. Only process changes here, the taxation. Rest everything remains same. Now what they will do, they will create one single template. From here, they will copy to other company codes. That is called your rollout project. In rollout projects, we are going to use some standard template. Standard template is created based on one of the company codes, and we discussed with the business, and they said these are the standard and the common things in all the company codes. Based on that, you will create one template. Template, everybody aware, like we might use a lot of templates in our life as well. You might use PPT template, board template, or many other templates you might be using. Anything that you wanted to repeatedly do it, you just simply take one of the template and you just plug in the various other things that you need. You simply replace or customize whatever you wanted to do it, right? That will help you to complete your work very easily. That is what your particularly our rollout is all about. Whenever you wanted to do the rollout, you will have your customized thing where you will be performing your own things that you wanted to do it, or whenever you wanted to customize very small things where you already have majority of the things, but you wanted to make very few things now as an adjustment. In that case, what happens? Now you simply use the template rather than you build everything from the scratch. You go with a template. The template will help you to make it your work easy. That is where you hear about rollout projects, which means there is already something is already implemented. On top of that, more other company codes we are going to implement more or less similar process, or it can be a different process as well. If it is a different process, you need to build from the scratch, no other way. But if your business says that none of the businesses will have completely different model from country to country, more or less you will have a same business model, but very few things will get changed from one country business to other country business. Okay. Now we'll discuss in detail about the rollout projects again when we talk about rollout projects. At this moment, rollout project is something that we hear about it. So whenever you hear a rollout, this is how it happens. We'll see that later what we do. And other types of projects, you call it as a migration projects. Whenever you are already in SAP, for example, let's say you are already using ECC system. Now you wanted to go to higher version or the next version. You wanted to migrate to S/4HANA. Now you will be doing that migration project, or you are using other tools within SAP that you wanted to migrate. That you call it as a migration projects. Or there is also a lot of legacy data that you wanted to migrate to your S/4HANA system. That requirement is also handled in your migration projects. And commonly, apart from this, the testing project. These testing projects are quite common. Wherever you see SAP implementation across the phases, either you are in an implementation phase, or whether you are in a support project, or whether you are in a migration project, or you are in a rollout project. In each and everything, so you will be working on testing projects. Whenever you work on a testing projects, which means you need to make sure whatever the system changes that we are doing it, whatever the configurations that we are doing it for the business. Everything has to be thoroughly tested before you release into production. Anybody worked in any product related development, worked as a product managers or a product owner or a scrum master roles that you are aware about it, the product life cycle, how it goes? Okay. In any product, let's say now I wanted to develop any new product, straight away we will not use in a production system. Let's say you think about a medicine has been developed by XYZ company. Let's say that during the COVID times, the companies has manufactured or invented a new medicine. As soon as they invent new medicine, will they directly release into the market for a people to use? Is it ready for a use? How safe it is?
No.
No, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
they need to make sure certain things, whether the product is safe or not. How do they make sure whether it is a safe or not? What are the methodologies that they use to confirm the safety standards?
They will use like testing. They will test as like on animals.
They have to test
Human.
on various other things before they directly
Quality check.
recommend to use for a humans. We need to perform various testings. Similarly, whenever you wanted to use any product straight away, that is not a good practice. You use for your regular use as soon as the production complete. The first time, because SAP that I'm implementing for the first time in my organization, anything that I implement, any changes that I do it, I need to make sure I thoroughly test it. We'll talk about various testing methodologies. How do you test it? How, what you will be doing in a testing projects, but at a high level for us to understand, let's say now Tata has come up with a new car model. Earlier they had diesel vehicle, petrol vehicle, electric vehicle, and a gas vehicle as well. Now they come up with a hybrid car which can run with solar and all other powers as well. A car can run with a petrol, diesel, gas, electric, and solar. All five sources it can run. Now they just develop, for example, it can be any organization. Now, if they release it without properly testing it, there might be a lot of failures will happen, which is not invitable, which is not acceptable in the market. For that, what they will do, they will perform various testing. They will include positive testing. If I drive the way that I'm expecting, what is supposed to happen? They will have some standard. If I wanted to drive my vehicle, it has to meet these standards. It has to meet this criteria. That is called your positive testing. You say, I'm expecting when I put a key and say start, it has to start. Engine has to get start. If they have designed such a way that one of your doors is not closed, car should not start. Now for that also you will test. You will intentionally open one of the doors out of 4 doors of your car and you will try to start. It should not start. If it starts, the test is failed. What was expected result? System or your car should not start, but it is starting. That is a defect. Now they will go and fix it. And once again, they will test. Now your dicky door is open. The back dicky door is open. Now that is another feature they have built. In their feature list, none of the doors should open, including that all the doors. Now they will test each and everything. Now, without seatbelt, car should not move. If I put in a first gear or a second gear, it should not move further. They will test that as well. When a driver is sleeping, that has to detect and say that your car has to stop. It should not move. Okay. So that's how they wanted to build it. Now, when they build this way, then when they test all this, then they will understand whether all the functionality that we have built is meeting the requirement or not. Similarly, what we will do, your business will provide a list of requirements during initial phase of our discussion that happens in the implementation phase. Your implementation partner record all the requirement and they will try to fulfill each and everything as much as possible before they hand it over to other support partner. Then what happens? Once they record or document all the requirements, they will also complete the checklist. How many features has been completed and implemented? How many are still yet to deliver? That list will be passed it on to your support consultants. I mean support projects. During this phase, they will complete. If they were not able to complete and they don't want to complete in implementation, they will ask support partner to complete that. Okay. So whatever you are doing as a part of support project or a rollout project or a migration project or implementation project, it can be any phase. All those newly built features has to thoroughly test it. Only after testing, you will release that to production. Without testing, none of the features will be released to the production. That is where a testing project plays a very crucial role to complete the testing. For a testing, people will think that it is very easy, but you need to have a knowledge about the functionality, what you are expecting, what is the output that you are expecting versus what exactly the actual output it is given, that we should be aware. That we need to compare and see what exactly the output it is giving, what was expected. And only when it meets actual requirement, then you will pass the testing and will move to the production. Now, there are various types of testings that we do it. We'll talk about it whenever we talk about testing project later. At this moment, we just had a high level understand the types of projects. Why is it important? Whenever you say about this, now we talk about your, as a consultant, you might be attending an interview or you might be facing with a client for any reason. So that is where you will understand about your journey overall. Right? Whenever you talk about consultant journey, so you will be either working in implementation project or you are currently working in a support project or rollout project, any of these projects. Next, once this particular project gets over, you will be switching to other project. Your organization will ask you to move to other project. During that time, again, you need to face a client interview. Though you are in an XYZ organization, one project you completed for a 2 years or a 3 years, and you need to move to another project or a client. If you are in a support project, most probably you will remain in that project for a long time, depending on your performance. And if you are in implementation or a rollout or a migration or a testings, so you might switch to other client or a project after that. So that is where you need to face again interview with your client. Whenever you wanted to face an interview, then they will ask as if like you are attending for an interview for the first time. Your organization knows about you, but your client may not be, right? Because you are meeting your client for the first time. So they will try to understand your profile. What is your overall expertise? What are the areas that you are good at? For that, you need to prepare your resume with whatever the exposure that you have it. You need to update what is the total number of years of experience that you have it in SAP projects, out of which how many years of experience you have in end-to-end implementation, how many years of experience you have in support projects, how many years of experience you have in a rollout projects, how many years of experience you have in a migration projects, how many years of experience in testing projects. They are very, very much particular on this front because majority of the job roles, if you look into it in any job portal, you will that the evident it is very much evident that it talks about we are looking for a consultant who has at least one end-to-end implementation experience, or we need a consultant who has end-to-end at least 3 end-to-end implementations life cycle who worked on it. Some projects might say that we need a consultant who has at least worked on 4 years in a support projects, something like that. So whenever you check today, for your awareness, I would recommend you to go through various job portals like Naukri, Monster, maybe the Monster name will change now. Whatever job portals you come across or directly get into our company career pages and see various FICO consultant roles and responsibilities. In that criteria itself, they will mention what they are expecting it. You will get some idea what kind of projects they are expecting for. I no need to tell you this is what has a high demand. You will be able to find it if you refer to 10 jobs. You will come to know how many jobs they are expecting implementation experience, how many jobs they are looking for purely support experience alone is sufficient, and how many they are looking for migration or testing related experience, right? High probability that you will find implementation project. It is one of the demanding, most demanding, and then next demanding is bus supply. I would say these are the two top demanding things along with your testing. These three, you will see a lot of requirement in any organization. Okay. In your resume also, you need to make sure you have solid experience that you are showcasing in our resume also. Not just showcasing, which I mean to say, you need to have that level of comfort to work in that projects. What we will do in our trainings, so we are going to cover all of that. So what we will do, so we will cover, let's say we will cover about end-to-end implementation project. So let me take this as it is. We'll start with implementation project and we'll go through each and every phase of it. I'll make you a real-time conversations. I'll make you to understand the business requirement. I want you to involve in various discussions to share a business requirement. You prepare various documentations along with me. I will show you in the class, but by end of the class, you should be able to understand that concept and start preparing various documentations because there is a lot of documentation requirement in implementation phase. So I'll show you each and everything how to do it. So then you should practice it. That's okay if you go wrong on a first time. That is quite common. That keep trying it. Only then when you join in a project that you never feel that you are doing for the first time. In your project, you already can feel confident that yes, I have already done this. I'm just doing for another time. That is the confidence that you need to build it, which we are going to do in our class, in our regular classes. It is not just about learning the configuration. There might be some consultants already in from a different module, like we have seen earlier. You guys might know that learning only configuration, if it is going to help, you no need to join my classes. You can find this content elsewhere as well, but you need to learn beyond the configuration what is required for you to manage in a project. That is what we are going to learn more of it here. Data configuration. Certainly, we need the configuration skill. I'm not denying it. Beyond that, we need to have consulting skill set. Whenever we say consulting skill set, it contains multiple things, including your documentation preparation, your client management, how you handle with your client, how you coordinate with your other functional consultants, technical consultants, or cross-module consultants. How do you deal with that within your team? How do you handle overall the delivery, right? That is most important for us to know. We are going to learn all that. Once we're done with implementation, what I'll do, then I'll jump onto a rollout project, which will be very apt for you to understand, but it will be a quick for you to understand once you're done with your end-to-end implementation. We'll take one company example and we'll do a complete end-to-end implementation. After that, we'll talk about a rollout project. After that, we will also talk about testing project. Parallelly, what I'll do, I'll give you some idea and some assignments around our testing whenever we are doing implementation and rollout. In each and every project, testing is mandatory. That's the reason. So we are going to involve testing in all the projects. But once you're done with the rollout, then I'll give you the proper, a complete structure of testing project idea as well, so that we'll be able to cover testing project. After that, what we will do, we'll talk about a support projects once you're done with our testing project. So after that, we'll talk about migration project. How do you migrate from, let's say, ECC to S4 or other version to other system to S4? How do you do that all migration? What are the things that you need to take care? So all that we'll discuss about. Majorly, these types of projects will cover for sure in detail. So that once you complete our training, in your resume, you can showcase approx 3 to 4 years or 3 to 5 years of any of this. Or if you wanted to mix and match, we can do that. That's the thing that we are going to cover in our upcoming sessions, particularly. Okay, these are the types of projects so far we understood, and this is expected in your organizations also, right? Now, like I mentioned, we'll start with implementation in upcoming classes. Okay, and after that, we'll see one by one project structure, how it is going to be, what will be your responsibilities, how to handle it. Now, for us to start any project, first thing that we need to understand is what is the most important thing that we need to understand is we already understood that SAP is all about your where we are using for two different purposes. FICO. FI is majorly used for what? Whenever I talk about finance module, what is it used for? Why do I need FI module?
For reporting purpose.
Ledger.
What kind of reporting it is?
Uh,
There's a fine difference. That's the reason I'm just asking this question again.
Can you repeat the
yeah,
question
external
again, please?
reporting purpose for
External
storage.
reporting, perfect.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk about FI, which is a finance module in SAP is particularly used for external reporting purposes. Make sure you remember that without any confusion. That is
Yes.
what we are going to learn. So external reporting purposes is what we are going to use. Now, whenever we talk about FI module, going forward in our upcoming classes, we discuss in detail about FI, what we are going to do in FI module. In FI module, we are going to talk about external financial reporting structure. Now, just to understand external reporting, what are the external reportings? What are the reports that you call as external report? Anybody want to explain?
Yeah, for
Balance sheet.
for the tax purpose, government.
What kind of
Financials,
reports? The names of the
financials,
reports?
company
Finance.
financials.
Company financials, okay. As a part of financials, if I want to still make it a more simple term, what would be that name that we call it generally?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet, okay.
Assets and
Cash
liability.
flow statement.
Cash flow statement, okay.
Bank
What else?
account.
What is the other mandatory thing that we prepared? There is a one more very much mandatory thing.
Profit and loss.
Profit and loss account.
Profit and loss account. Also, we call this as an income statement. Depending on organization to organization, generally, we also call this as an income statement. Whenever we talk about profit and loss account or income statement, this is used to get or understand where a company is standing in terms of that particular period performance. In that particular period, when I say period again, it can be 1 month, majoritarily 1 month, 130 days period or one calendar of 1 month is called as a period in SAP. In general, in accounting also, we call it as a period equals to month. Okay, so remember this. In 1 month, what has been happened? Let's say, what is the completed month? If I consider today as 18th of June, what is my previously the immediately completed period?
Yeah, 17th of May.
Completed period, one period. What is the previous period for this month? We are in a June month.
May to April.
May.
Completed month is a May. May 2025 is my previous month, what we
Yes.
completed. Now, business wanted to understand what happened in a previous period. Whenever I say previous period, it is a May 2025. May is not fixed all the months, right? Whenever I'm in August, what is my completed period? That will be July. Without confusion, you should be able to recollect this. Whenever I talk about a period, am I talking to the current period or a previous period? Always, whenever we wanted to run any reports, most probably we run for a previous periods. Okay, that is a very much clear. Business will tell you it is a previous period or a current period. Whenever we say current period, it is decided based on what? Again, based on today's date. As per today's date, let's say today is what? 18th of June. As per this, June is my current period. Now in SAP, we always call every month instead of month, we call it as a period. Okay. So depending on your reporting structure, this period also again will change. Without any confusion, I'll explain you that later whenever we talk about fiscal year variant option. At this moment, a period is something that you need to recall. 1 month equals to 1 period. Current period means current month, whatever we are currently in. Previous period means the last month that we already completed. Next period means the future period. It can be any future period, but immediate period may be the next month. Last month or a previous month, current month, and the next month, right? The previous period, current period, and the next period. This is the terms, you just remember it for now. So later we'll talk about it in detail, how to understand the periods, how to make SAP to understand the periods that everything that we told. Now, whenever I prepare a profit and loss account, I prepare this for 1 period. That is for a last period always. Last period, I wanted to know how much profit or a loss that I made. Profit or a loss together, we call in financial terms as a bottom line. What is the top line? When I say profit or loss is a bottom line, what is my top line in a profit and loss account? Anybody aware about what is top line?
Carry forward.
Not really. Just
Top line.
what is top line in your income statement or a profit and loss account?
Capital.
No.
The summary of the business or financials?
No. Okay. I'll tell you. Okay. So this is very core concept in a finance. So in a profit and loss account, generally your business users will call 2 things. One is at a top line, other one is a bottom line. Anybody, if you get a chance next time, try to attend any one of the annual general meetings. Any annual general meeting, either internal meeting of your organization, or you go to podcast or the live, which has been already published, which is available in various websites of that companies. Let's say 2024, whenever they closed in a March 31st for Indian companies, they might have already announced their results. During that time, they might have already talked about it. You will understand various financial terms from your CFO and CEO, both. Both they will talk about your external reporting terms. They will explain what is their top line growth, what is their bottom line growth. In a profit and loss account, it always starts with a revenue, which is going to be your top line. They might say this as our top line. And a bottom line, we reach to the bottom. So sorry, your bottom line is going to be your profit or loss, whatever it may be. At the bottom, whatever you calculate is your bottom line. In between top line and bottom line, there are various expenses or incomes, everything will comes into picture. The revenue is the core sales that we are doing here. Sales of an organization is called as a revenue. Okay. And the bottom, we calculate profit and loss. In a profit and loss account, this is the core thing that we do it. Whenever I do this, at the end of the period, I'm going to carry forward my profit and loss account balance to balance sheet. Next period, it will become 0. Now, if I wanted to compare my, let's say, P&L account for, let's say, May, that was the previous period, May 2025. So let me tell you revenues are, let's say, I will take a very simple example. I don't want to go with a very big numbers. 1 lakh rupees as my revenue. And let's say expenses, including all salaries to employees or rent that you paid and advertisement expenses, all other admin expenses, and including your transport, your cafeteria expenses, IT expenses, everything, all other things, including this, is costing to that organization, let's say 25,000. Don't ask me which company can manage everything in 25,000. I'm just taking a simple example. So out of 1 lakh rupees, let me put this revenue in minus number. And salaries is an expense in a positive number. And if there is any other additional income that you got it, let's say interest on your bank savings that you have. Companies will maintain a lot of balance in their bank accounts where you will also get interest on that. Let's say you received other incomes all other incomes. That is not part of your regular revenue, right? That is not a sales that you are earning it. That you showcase under separate heading. Now here you got it like, let's say another 5,000. Okay. Now that, let's say at the end you are paying taxes also. Taxes maybe, I'm calculating approximately at this moment, maybe additional 2,000 you are paying it. Now you will calculate a profit or loss. Okay. Now whenever you calculate this, sorry, this will tell you your bottom line. Your bottom line is 78,000 profit. Now you are able to make this 78,000 profit. What happens? This is for a May month. Now, whenever you go for a June month, profit and loss account for a June month, so you will not have any opening balance. Opening balance for your profit and loss account is always 0. You cannot have any opening balance. You cannot carry forward anything. So what happens, whatever I calculated here, this 78,000 will go to your balance sheet. Similar to profit and loss account, we need to prepare a balance sheet for the year ended. We always call this as a period ended, sorry, year ended. We don't call it as as of the period end. Balance sheet for the year ended, let's say March 2025, or let's say you are preparing for the last period of, sorry, I can't have both, May 2025. When you prepare it, you always will have assets and liabilities here. Assets on one side, liabilities on other side. Under liabilities, you have something called retained earnings account. Under retained earnings account, you will have an opening balance of retained earnings. What is this opening balance of retained earnings account? This is this period's total profit or loss. You will take that here first as your opening balance. Then current period balance. Current period also you will have the balance, whatever you are taking it, that you will calculate it here for the current period. Put together will become your total retained earnings account for this month. It is not just current period. So overall you need to consider. Now it will become 0 here for a profit and loss account once you transfer this 78,000 here. It will get nullified. Then next period it will start again at 0. What happens here in a balance sheet? Whenever you start here for the next period, let's say we are starting for a June period. This P&L account for a June, opening balance is 0. But however, my assets and liabilities, whenever I talk about it, so I will have, let's say here, the current period we made in a June so far, 22,000 profit. If I calculate, put together, which is 1 lakh rupees. Now, whenever I talk about this in total, your opening balance will become 1 lakh. Maybe this, let me keep it in a minus. In the current period, always you will calculate it here. Your assets, the last period, whatever you had it, let's say you had so far 10 lakhs. Okay. And end of the year, there might be some depreciation you charged, and you might also added a new assets. All that will be added to this number. Let's say depreciation. You will call that as accumulated depreciation. You reduce this, maybe let me put that as 10 lakhs. Oh, sorry, out of 10 lakhs, I'll put 1 lakh as depreciation. And you might added a new assets. I'll add this as a plus, maybe additional 5 lakhs of assets you added. When you add this, total assets will become 14 lakhs now. That is what you carry forward to the next year. Your balance sheet will always have accumulated balances for everything. Your profit and loss account will not have any accumulated balances. It will be carried forward to the next period. Now, whenever I wanted to understand my financial reportings, how a business is preparing it, this is how it starts with, right? So in tomorrow's class, what we will understand, what is the starting point for us to understand? In accounting cycle, we discuss something called accounting cycle. So anybody aware about what is accounting cycle? Where your transaction starts?
A 1 year cycle?
Sorry, accounting cycle.
Is it a 1 year cycle or maybe
let's consider 1 year. Yeah, maybe you take anything is fine for our example. if you talk about a 1 year cycle, what do you call this accounting cycle if I wanted to understand? And not only the period, I just wanted you guys to understand what do you mean by accounting cycle overall? What exactly the cycle means?
The entire company statements, like how they performed,
Okay,
what was their profit and loss, revenue, and everything, like where we can get to know.
correct. For us to reach to this financial statements, there is a different cycle that we need to understand what exactly the business is doing. Though you are not going to involve in those steps in a real business, but you need to have that at least a basic understanding of. In tomorrow's class, what we will do, we will discuss in detail about the accounting cycle, where it starts with, and what are the things your business users will be performing it, and how that business life cycle, in that business cycle, finally you will arrive to these financial statements. Why is that important? The accounting cycle directly we are going to converting into SAP accounting flow. What is the accounting flow happens in SAP? For that, you need to understand the manual flow, what is happening in business. Then we will convert that to SAP flow. You will understand that what exactly that is. That is what we will start tomorrow, and we'll keep adding the other basics of accounting for us to understand before we get into our implementation of SAP. Those who comes from non-accounting background or those who don't meet this criteria, like I mentioned earlier. Initially, I just wanted to spend some time so that I'll give you some clues, those who are not comfortable with the flows, so that at least you will catch up something. Later, you can spend some additional time and put extra effort to understand this. Okay, where I'll provide you with sufficient information for you to go through that. Okay, so that's for today. Let me stop here. If somebody has any questions, do let me know so that I can clarify before we wrap up. Anybody? Any questions so far that we discussed?
Sir, I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go a little up?
Sure.
Yeah,
This one
when we
or
are talking,
practice?
yeah, like this side, like liabilities and assets, when we are talking about here,
Mm-hmm.
I can see like we mentioned minus 78,000. Just for an example, I wanted to know, like
Mm-hmm.
in that we said like this is the opening balance for a month of June, right? Because in the month of May, we got minus 78,000, right?
Right.
And then again, we added minus 22. So basically, we added both of them and opening balance and saying that this is our liability. Still, we have to pay. That means we got loss of 22,000 in month of June.
So maybe don't worry about the sign that I have used, plus and minus, that I'll clarify later. But generally, the revenues will show for a calculation purpose in a minus. Doesn't mean that that is a loss. So
Okay.
in net, the minus is a profit. So that might be confusing at this moment, but I'll
Yes.
clarify with a other solid example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll wait for that. Yeah.
Yeah, not to worry on that. The side, I understand where you are coming from, but so yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have to leave. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure, no problem. Thank you. Are there any other questions that I can help you?